Good morning. It's the 11th of June and it's been over a month since my last video about the garden. We've been on holiday, so we went to the Outer Hebrides, farmer in the field, so maybe we'll hear the tractor. So yeah, we went on holiday, which was great. Actually, I'm going to put up a wee video. It's just for our own memories' sake, but I'm going to put it up on YouTube so that some of my folks can see it. So today, well, we've got thunderstorms too, although it looks okay just now. In fact, it's quite nice, sunny. So we do have thunderstorms due. We've had a wee shower, but nothing more than that. So yesterday I actually caught the sun a wee bit, which doesn't happen very often. Maybe once a year in the Highlands I actually catch the sun a wee bit. But it was glorious yesterday, hottest day of the year. It was topped out at about 26, 27 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty warm for us. I've been doing the seedlings dance, still got some seedlings, and so they've been in and out, in and out, in and out. Still quite chilly overnight, dropping down to usually about 9 or 10 degrees Celsius, but it has gone down in the last couple of weeks to as low as 5. So my peppers and my tomatoes that are in the greenhouse had a wee bit of a chilly night, but they're fine. They're looking pretty good actually, so that's good. The greenhouse is getting up to about 30 degrees most days, so well, they should cope with that. So I'm going to do a wee little look around the garden, see what I've been up to. A lot of work has gone on in the last 4 weeks since my last video, so a lot of things have grown. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Okay, this is where quite a lot has changed. So down here, we've now cleared out this space entirely. You might remember there was an enormous burn pile down here. It's a bit patchy, and I am going to re-sow, but this is all new grass. But it does need, see how patchy it is. Looks nice from a distance. But this was the burn pile, and therefore I'm very pleased with the fact that anything's grown on top of it. This bit here, I had the wee chickens on this a couple of weeks ago. There was a big comfrey patch there, so I had the chickens on it. Try and tidy that up a bit. The wee chickens were on here for the last 2 days, so I'm actually going to mow that, give it a good rake off, and then put new seed down in the areas that are looking a bit sparse now. Same here, the wee chickens were over here, and again that is going to be reseeded. Problem I've had is that it's been very, very dry and quite hot, and so sowing grass seed is a bit of a challenge because the IBC tank for the water that we have here is actually empty, and has been empty since the end of May, so keeping grass seed watered is a bit of a challenge. So this Phacelia, this green manure ground cover, has finally flowered here in the shade. It was about 3 weeks after the Phacelia that we had in the veg plot. I have one random sunflower here that my friend Pam gave me some seeds for, and so it's there. Anyway, that's that. I have onions, radish, strawberry in here. This is a radish mix, and this is French breakfast radish. They're looking okay. Onions here, and then in here we have a mix of cauliflower, Savoy cabbage, and some random lettuce. These are actually looking okay. We had a really strong wind yesterday, and as you can see they don't have a lot of protection from the prevailing wind which comes up the glen here and smacks them here. So I actually heavily mulched them with some of this. This is the moss and bits and bobs that the chickens turn up when they are on a area. There's the rest of it there. Same here, so this is a whole bed of kale here. Quite challenging because this obviously is entirely in the shade most of the day, so I have to grow things that don't mind that too much. So that here is kale, and it's actually doing okay. This is dwarf kale. It's so dwarf it's not really doing much, but that's okay, I think. So that's the 4 new raised beds for this season, growing quite happily. This is the last of the burn pile. Eagle-eyed people amongst us might have noticed that this was a huge branch that came out here, and it is now no more. But it's just, I mean, this tree is massive, and that branch was somewhat in the way. So I have removed it, and the wee chickens are currently ranging here. Oh, Phoebe. Chook chook. Hip hip. Good girls. Caravan's doing well, holding its own. Seems to be getting easier to move the more often I do it. So top tip, if you're making a mobile coop, make sure it's mobile. This one is extremely heavy. And my fencing, of course, is T-posts and chicken wire rather than kind of traditional mobile coop netting, and is quite a challenge to move. Nonetheless, I'm moving them about every 2 or 3 days, and last time I did it, it took me half an hour, so that was an improvement. Is the mound. I haven't trimmed or mown this, sorry, it is a bit of a mess, but the mound, you get the idea. I'll explain about this up there when we come round, but ultimately we have a collection of native wildflowers such as their campion. I've got some nasturtium. We've got lots of bulbs, various stages, a massive comfrey. I've got some calendula that's self-seeded from last year. We've got marshmallow, which is just starting to come here. More campion, in fact that's possibly, oh no, it's not the biggest campion I've ever seen, but I'll show you that one in a minute. Feverfew. The daisies are out up here. We've got some yarrow coming there, a random fern. This is a beauty, look at this. So this is an anemone mistral, which is the Bianco Centro Nero. So I think that's white with a black centre, very pretty. They're new for this year, and that one is the first flower we've had. Got some Aquilegia back there, which self-seeded. Yeah, and here's the biggest campion I have ever seen. In fact, it's immense. It's nearly as tall as me. But the bees love it, so they can stay. And these poppies are from last year. They didn't come to anything. I sowed a whole packet last year and nothing happened. I was really disappointed, but this has come up this year. Now I hope that it is the amazing grey variety, but we won't know until they come out. So every day I'm coming down here about 3 times a day to see if they're out. So hopefully, maybe today, there's more here in fact. So they're beauties. Random gooseberry bush, and then again more calendula, which self-seeded from last year. There's a patch of loosestrife, random rhubarb, more loosestrife. And then we have a plum tree, a wee plum tree here that was elsewhere in the garden and suffered, so I replanted it here. So that is the front of the mound. We'll go around and have a look at the exciting bit at the back. Plenty cow parsley. Okay, so this is the bit at the back of the mound. So my plan was to sow wildflowers here, But actually what I've done is I've sown a variety of different things, or planted a variety of different things. This is just weeds, and I will at some point get rid of them. But what we have here is cosmos and zinnia, and also a lot of weeds, but I'm waiting for the seedlings to come up so I can recognise which ones are which. Obviously the cosmos are quite easy to see, but the zinnia not so much when they're very small, so I'm just waiting a bit longer. But we have calendula. That's a patch of something I sown, I can't remember what it was, so we'll see when it gets a bit bigger. We've got meadowsweet, aquilegia, which some seeds were given to me by a friend, so they're mixed. I've no idea what they'll be. That is a blue pepe nasturtium, so it's got a sort of blue leaf. We've got a variegated nasturtium there, I think that's the Alaska. I've got a white borage, some more calendula, and then these are two Mechanopsis blue Himalayan poppies. So we'll see what happens with them. And then I've got a couple of sunflowers here and here, and then I've got 3 more that are on the stakes here. But I've also direct sown some sunflowers, so we'll see what happens there. The teasels, clearly enjoying life here. They're nearly as tall as me. I'm expecting to see I call them flowers loosely. Look at the spikes on it. Quite a spiteful wee plant, the teasel, actually. Yep, that's the juniper, the native juniper there, and then there's a broom down here which is still clinging on to a few flowers. In fact, there's the cosmos I can see here just starting to come up. Well, they're easy to recognise, but not so much with the zinnia. Anyway, so that's the mound, looking all right. Got a borage there. And this is my centaurea. What a beauty. Hasn't been much sitting on the deck, to be honest. Been quite busy. This is yellow loosestrife. I feel like this is very close to flowering. Beautiful yellow flowers. You can get it in purple too, and I did try some purple seeds and they didn't germinate at all, so I'm sure it was user error. A couple of strawberries, they're doing okay now. And then down here randomly, another of these blue pepe nasturtium. I love the colour of this leaf, it's really pretty. I think the flowers are going to be like a dark orangey red, but we will see. More devil's paintbrush, more raspberries shooting up. This is a rather out of hand blackberry. Doing pretty well. There's another one here we think is a raspberry, but it may be a bramble too. The new addition this year, very exciting. The brown turkey fig. Loving it. I'm not sure how well it will do, but it'll have to overwinter, so we'll see. And here is the loosestrife again, and look, it's so nearly coming. So that's excited. It's mixed in with mint, which, as everybody knows, used to grow along here. Got a couple of borage plants down here. There as well, and then this is a bramble that we bought last year, which is not doing nearly as well as the one that's seeded itself over there. Typical, isn't it? I've got random things going on here, so there's still trays of bits and bobs. Lots of cow parsley. It's actually pretty warm. The chives are out. I love chive flowers. I mean, they're just, for a herb, so pretty. I've got a tub of first early potatoes in here, and then down here we've got 3 sunflowers. These are the vanilla ice, so they're a kind of pale yellow with a sort of brown dark orange centre. And then I've got my cosmos, a couple of cosmos here. I think these are double Dutch white, so they should be sort of big frilly white things. More strawberries. We can do the greenhouse later. I joked on Instagram that this looks like a cheap wedding venue. To be honest, I'd want my money back if I arrived here for a wedding. So we have ladies' bed straw. I've no idea what we do with that, but when I googled it, it said something about stuffing pillows with it, so I have no idea. But it looks very pretty, quite structural, and it's growing up through everything else. So we've got quite a lot of thyme. So I've got variegated thyme, another variegated thyme, some normal thyme. The rosemary is currently flowering. I've got some chamomile here. This is a new thyme to me. This is the Summertime de Provence. So one assumes it likes it nice and hot and dry. More thyme. Do you seem to have a lot of thyme? The curry plant seems to be flowering. I don't think I knew that curry plants even had flowers. So we'll see. I think they might be yellow. That's my interpretation. Quite a lot of sage. Much more sage than any person could probably ever eat. Calendula that's self-seeded. Some dill. This I think is hyssop. Again, I'm not very sure what to do with hyssop, but I thought it should be included. We've got some bolting parsley. Some borage which self-seeded. Another blue pepe nasturtium. More thyme. Basil just does not work here outside, but I've got lots in the kitchen growing, so that's okay. And then the shed. So the shed. So this shed, when we moved in, had a big hole in the door, and for 3 years we said, oh, we really must fix that. And then my uncle came this year on his wee holidays, and he said, is there anything that I can help you with? I brought my tools. So I said, would you mind helping us with the shed? So we ordered the stuff, he told us what to do, we took the door off, we took the OSB off the front panel, replaced the whole lot, got a really quick delivery of the stuff, and Uncle John just cracked on, got it fixed, here it is. Also had a very dangerous ramp that came down from the door instead of that step, so we rebuilt the step, painted it, very, very pleased. So we can now store stuff in it again. It's not a health hazard trying to fall down that step when it's been snowing or when it's icy, and it's now watertight again, so that's brilliant. So thank you, Uncle John, for that. That's the shed fixed. Blueberries, yeah, so the blueberries were looking pretty grim when they came out of the greenhouse after overwintering. Very sort of rusty coloured leaves. In fact, you can still see a tiny bit of it here. They didn't look great, but it's really greened up, and its little friend that was a third of the size of this last year has come on leaps and bounds, and we even have a little bit of fruit starting to form here, so I'm very pleased with them. So the two of them looking a lot healthier. They're just sort of sitting here. They were going to be moved somewhere, but I actually don't mind them there. Next up we've got a little nasturtium flowering again. And then what I've done this year is I've put a couple of wee bits in here just because this is just dead wasted space. So I put some zinnias in. That's a poppy. I think that one's called Royal Wedding. I think it's like a white, but we'll see when it comes out if that's what it is. White borage, and then we've got the pale pink potentilla there. So it's just a bit of extra space that I could use there, which is good. Usual junk lying around. Phew, it's roasting now. So I thought we'd use the opportunity of the sun being very bright, step into the alternative wedding venue. It's 38 degrees in here, which frankly is a bit too hot, but I do have 40% shade cloth on, and in reserve I've got some 90% shade cloth which I could put on, but I'm using it in the chicken coop just now, so we'll see if it gets worse. Yeah, I mean that's pretty hot. Probably not for the people that live in very hot countries, probably like, oh, that's just a kind of warm summer day, but here that is roasty. So I'll just give you a very quick overview before I melt of the plants that we have in here. Okay, so peppers, let's start with them. Sweet banana, jalapeno, lemon drop, looking quite sweet, Cherry Bomb, got a couple of these. I fancied the look of that one, so yeah, actually looks quite healthy. Hot Wax, another sweet banana, another Cherry Bomb, a shishito pepper, which I'm quite excited about this too, looking alright. Another jalapeno, another Hot Wax, and another Cherry Bomb. I do have more peppers up at the house, but they're just a tiny bit wee to bring out, so they'll come out in the next couple of days. No other varieties, I think they're all just the same combination of that. A couple of cherry tomatoes here looking fairly dreadful, so my disclaimer is my disclaimer is that I am not known for my patience, and here we have a classic example of what happens when you try to rush or skip the step of hardening off. So here we have sunburned and windburned cherry tomatoes. Don't know if they'll come to anything. This is limoncello, this is cream sausage, same thing has happened here. It does have new growth, but we'll see if it's injured fatally. This is a cream sausage. Yeah, again, I don't know, they look dreadful. I sowed them, possibly sowed them a week or two early, and then they got very leggy, and then they've just suffered in the wind, etc. Slightly healthier looking over here is a red cherry. It doesn't look, it wasn't so leggy. Don't judge my lack of pruning here, this has all gone quite quickly in the last wee while. I don't know what that one is, but I'm going to go on the assumption that it's the same. So they look okay. And then the bigger tomatoes, and so what I'm doing this year for these is I'm having a sort of, a sort of string support system. So here we have some flowers coming already on this one, and this one is the, oh, what is it now? Let's have a look. Oh, Sun Baby. I did not grow this from seed, as you can see, which is probably why it's flowering and none of the others are. So that's Sun Baby, and then this one I did grow from seed. It is a Cherokee Purple. So I have a couple of these, and I'm really pleased with how they're looking so far. I don't know how they would do in this climate, but pleased with that. This is a San Antonio F1 hybrid. It also has some flowers coming, so that's great. Looks alright, it's actually quite tall too. This is a lemon sherbet. Again, a little yellow cherry tomato. It got ridiculously leggy, so I've hacked it off at the top and hoping for the best there. This is another Cherokee Purple, and again, I'm pleased with that. And then this one, I can't remember what it is, and in fact I think this might be the one with the lost label. However, we have a whole ton of flowers starting to form here, so that's great. Now, because I've got net up at the door, I'll probably be pollinating these myself. Oh, it's roasting in there. So that's the overview of the tomato and peppers. It's still very bright, so I might come back later and do the overview of the veg plot. In the meantime, enjoy this lovely cow parsley. Just quickly to say that regarding the veg plot, that this year we decided long before it was time to start seeds that we would intentionally use the garden spaces that we have for growing for things that we know that we can grow and that we can eat and that we know what to do with, because I've got carried away before trying to do slightly more experimental things, like trying to grow cucamelons, for example, which went terribly. Trying to grow kajari melons, for example, which was worse. I've even tried to grow okra. So what you learn in the Scottish Highlands is there's some things that just don't work, and so I haven't dedicated any garden space to any of that stuff this year. So we're going to be, we also had a terrible potato harvest last year, and of course that's one of the staples. It's one of the things we eat most of and should be able to grow. So this year, instead of having them in buckets, when we had a drought last year, I call it a drought, we had a period of no rain. The potatoes all suffered, and they were not a great variety, and they were purple skinned and they were very scabbed and they weren't great. And so this year I went very much back to basics. I've planted them largely in garden beds. They've been mounded up properly in trenches. I've chosen a white skinned variety, so I'm hoping that this year potato harvest will be better. Runner beans last year were dreadful, so this year I'm sticking just to the bush beans and pole beans, so just basically French green beans, so you can pick them very young and then just eat them fresh, or I can blanch them and freeze them. So I'm trying to stick to what I know grows and what I know we'll eat. So that's so it's not terribly exciting, there's nothing really thrilling to show, but I'll go through and describe what varieties I picked and why, and you can see how they're going. Yeah, so it was a bit of a disclaimer before we go in there, and it's a bit like, this is a bit boring. Experimental, because we haven't got masses and masses of garden space, so experimental just didn't work for us, and because of our climate as well, some of those things are just not worth trying. So that's why I've reined it in a bit this year. I start with this lovely clematis. Cheap and cheerful, and it's growing really well this year, so that's nice. Okay, so first things first, we've got our Blue Lake French climbing beans. They're actually doing okay. I have mulched with grass cuttings to try to keep some moisture in here, and it really looks like it's working, so that's good. Strawberry bed, we've got some flowers, which is great. Here's the leeks that we thought would come to nothing. We've got actual leeks, so that's quite good. A couple of wee marigolds down here, a couple of zinnias. I filled in the gaps with seeds yesterday, so hopefully they'll come up. These are a couple of courgettes. So this year I've gone with the 8-ball courgette. I don't know if that's a summer squash or if it's a actual courgette, but that's what these two are. A couple of random, these are bush beans and they're dwarf, so these are called Caledonia. Again, I don't know if they'll come to much or if they'll get eaten away. A bit of lettuce. This year I've very much gone for the random approach to planting. Here we've got some mange too, so these did really well for me last year, so I'm hoping the same will apply this year. Another 8-ball courgette. I have here a row of carrot. This is Resist-a-Fly. 3 rows of carrots in fact. Lemon balm making a comeback. Smells like the... It's actually not... I don't really like the smell of it actually. It's for the bees more than anything, but it smells like that citronella candles that you can buy for keeping mosquitoes and midges away. Here we have calendula. I think it's self-seeded. This is where we had a big pile of calendula last year. And this is Crespidia, or Crespidia, otherwise known as Billy Buttons. And it has very small yellow button flowers on the top. Here's my salad box. I've actually harvested a fair bit of salad out of that already. Had one last night, it was very nice. Nothing in here. It's also, you can see how dry it's been. It's just awful. I was going to give that a good watering last night, that box, and then the rain was forecast, but it never came. empty box. That back there is a hollyhock, which has come back from last year, I believe. Well, I don't know, but I thought it was biennial, but I did have flowers last year, so we'll see what happens to that. And this is the Phacelia. So this is the green manure ground cover, which has grown absolutely massive. I didn't have the heart to strip it out because I haven't got anything yet that needs to go in here. And the bees absolutely love it. So I just pressed the wrong button. I just felt like I couldn't pull it out. So it's probably a mistake. But in the meantime, my bee friends are extremely happy. Next to that we have what I would probably argue is a garlic fail. So this garlic went in, I can't remember when it went in. It was either very late last year or very early this year. I mulched it. I did everything I was supposed to do. I just don't know. We did have a lot of heavy snow, so I don't know. In the meantime, what I've done is I've actually sown Blue Lake French climbing beans in all of these spaces. And then if I have to pull this garlic up because it's not doing anything, then I've got something in the space. Got a couple of sunflowers in here as well. These are teddy bear. There's one in that corner over there. So we'll see how that goes. I just didn't want to waste this bed on garlic that's just not going to grow. So I've sowed something that I think will grow. Potatoes. So this is a row here of rocket, and this is 2 rows here of baking potatoes. I'm not sure on the variety of those. They seem healthy enough. I'm really hoping that having them in a bed this year is going to improve my chances of getting a decent harvest. We've got some peas here, early peas. These are Douce Provence, I think it's called. Really pretty with a slightly variegated leaf. Some lettuce, lettuce everywhere. And that's a nasturtium that I thought was dead and then it seemed to have a comeback, so I thought I'd shove it in there and give it a chance. 2 more Blue Lake French climbing beans. As you can see, I've gone big on beans, but they don't look, none of them look great, so if I can get some to take, then that's all the better. A couple of mange too, and that is a cucumber, which is looking dreadful. I think probably too hot for it. I don't even know if this, is there any point in even leaving it in there? We'll see. It is a crystal lemon, I believe. Crystal cucumber. No, crystal apple. Okay, I've never heard of that before. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. I think it's probably a goner. Okay, more potatoes. These are struggling. So these are white potatoes that I kept from ones that I had purchased to eat, and then I never ate them. They started shooting, so I chitted them, thought, well, I'll put them in and see what happens. I think we can see what's happened. Anyway, the one in the middle doesn't look too bad. I think they're suffering a lot from the dry. I did give them a good water yesterday, and they have been mounded up, so hopefully we'll get something, but we'll see. More strawberries. Yeah, they're all flowering like a good one at the moment. Over here we have, so this is going to be sweet peas, zinnia and cosmos. The idea being that the sweet peas will grow up, possibly not over, but up the arch and look very pretty. They're quite healthy. This is a variety that we got called blackberry and apple, I think. They were green and purple. Yeah, so we'll see. There's one in the middle that's looking desperately sad, but again, we'll see what happens. Zinnias, and there's cosmos, which has been sown down there, direct sown. Onions and weeds in this box. Of course, the onions are now shooting up their escapes, and in fact, I think we could probably argue some of these are probably done anyway. So we'll see. That's that. And carrots. 4 rows of Autumn King carrots. Did really well with these last year, and so thought we'd just go with a tried and true variety. Oh, I have, yes, over here. Yesterday I sowed a couple of rows in here of the Harlequin carrot variety, which I gather is a colourful mix. Dog, out, out. Oh, she's now She's got herself wedged in. Come on, out you come. Good girl. Go on. All the way. Out. I clearly didn't heed my own sign. She's looking very disgruntled now, look. So the last thing to point out is the fruit bushes. Looking to be a good soft fruit harvest again this year, so let's have a quick look at them. Just look at these numpties on the way past. You like your dirt box, don't you? You good girls? Have you laid any eggs? Phoebe? Okay, so please don't judge the lack of weeding. Right, so here we have 2 new red currant bushes. Not many fruit on it, but I didn't really expect there to be. They've only gone in a few months ago. White currant bushes, 2. They do have some fruit on them, so that's good. And then there's 2 blackberry here. Looking a bit rough actually, those ones. Black currants, as ever, we have our wall of black currants. Now these are starting to look very hopeful. Some of these bushes are taller than me, which is, some might argue is not difficult, since I'm only 5'2". And then we've got the gooseberry, which had a very hard prune last year. So we didn't know how that would affect the harvest this year. Looks like a lot of fruit. In terms of raspberries, we have, there's no structure to the raspberry growing operation here. It basically just, they grow where they want to grow. But again, this bush is really tall and there's plenty of fruit on it. Already discussed the bramble, and blueberries. So that, I think that concludes, that's too messy. Let's not look that way. That's better. I think that concludes the tour. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else of note. Yeah, I will aim to come back in maybe 2 weeks because I think a lot will have changed. And we'll see how it's looking then.